Man prides himself on believing he rules the world, but he stumbles when he must control himself. This is the fundamental contradiction of modern man. He builds nations, controls markets, and builds empires in the digital universe. But the presence of an attractive woman is enough to weaken his strength. His thoughts become muddled, his mission weakens, and he forgets the path he was meant to follow. No matter how much we talk about freedom, independence, and masculinity, the truth is that most men remain chained. Not to kings or governments, but to a much older and invisible master, lust. Friedrich Nietzsche, though rarely cited in this context, denounced this weakness, this herd mentality, this inability of modern man to transcend his flesh and rise above his instincts. From nature's perspective, unbridled desire is not just a distraction, it's a prison. It is the chain that prevents man from reaching his higher self. Uncontrolled lust debases the will to ascend, reducing it to a ceaseless and pathetic quest for immediate gratification. Here it seduces man not only with pleasure, but also with the lie that to yield is to be free. Nature, like a surgeon of the soul, would shatter this illusion with brutal clarity. What you call love, what you call desire, is often nothing more than your perfumed spiritual weakness. At the heart of natural philosophy lies a concept most men have never fully understood: the will to power. It is not the thirst for domination over others, as is often mistakenly thought, but the will to master oneself, to impose order on chaos, to overcome one's baser instincts. It is spiritual energy that drives man to create, suffer, and excel. However, most men have traded this higher will for a lower divinity, the will to pleasure. While the will to power requires discipline, confrontation, and suffering, the will to pleasure evokes comfort, tranquility, and surrender. Lust in this context is not limited to sex. It's about the dissolution of a man's inner fire. It's an invitation to become soft, responsive, and dominated. By chasing the next woman, the next body, the next euphoria, men dilute their raison d'être. They express their power through fleeting orgasms and emotional dependence. A man dominated by desire ceases to be the master of his soul. It's the addict who masquerades as the alpha. Often desire becomes a hiding place. It's the coward's drug. Rather than face the discomfort of growing up, the silence of loneliness, the pressure of inheritance, the terror of mortality, most men seek the instant balm of female validation. Nature, which saw suffering as essential to greatness, would find today's casual sex culture repugnant. Not because it's immoral, but because it's weak. It reveals a generation of men who prefer to travel in search of stimulation, rather than isolate themselves. They fear the inner emptiness and fill it with flesh. But as he writes, he who has a reason for living can endure almost any how. Most men no longer have a why, they only have a who. The next woman, the next conquest, the next distraction. Sexual indulgence becomes a way to avoid building anything lasting. They don't build empires, they build fantasies, and in doing so they escape the pain that builds character. Lust, therefore, is not rebellion, it is withdrawal. Perhaps the most subtle yet shocking insight into nature comes from observing what happens when a man prioritizes a woman. In today's romantic idealism, men are taught to pursue her, to demonstrate her, to conquer her as if she were their goal. But nature warns us, any man who idolizes a woman already places himself beneath her. He commits spiritual treason. Instead of seeing women as a complement to his path, he sees them as the way. He venerates the feminine as his source of fulfillment, not as its reflection. And so she becomes his sovereign. She dictates his worth. His confidence depends on her approval. His ambition is shaped by her acceptance. The same man who quotes nature about power and self-development becomes a beggar in her presence. Romanticism in the eyes of nature often masks a deep inner weakness, an inability to stand on one's own 2 feet. A man who makes a woman his savior is not in love. He is capitulating. And therein lies the cruel paradox. Modern men believe themselves free because they have access to sex. They believe that courting women is a sign of strength, autonomy, and success. But nature would mock them. It would tell them, you are not free. You are a prisoner of your own biology, seduced by a culture that exploits your desire, and enslaved by your need for external validation. You call it masculinity, but it is servitude. You think you are in control because you take the initiative. But who really controls the addict, the drug, or the user? For nature, true freedom does not lie in the ability to surrender. It is the power to resist, to say no, to abstain, to postpone, to transmute. I would encourage men to look in the mirror and ask themselves, is my desire sovereign, or is it dominated by the image of a woman I cannot forget? Most would discover that their actions, moods, and self-esteem are silently governed by the temptation of sex. They are not men, they are puppets. Ultimately, nature would offer us a choice, brutal but liberating. Break the chains or remain under its domination. Nature does not maintain chains. They are forged by our unmet needs, our unbridled appetites, our refusal to evolve. Sex is not evil. Woman is not the enemy, but worshipping one or the other is the beginning of slavery. The man who does not master lust will always be dominated by it. He will never create anything beyond himself, for he is constantly losing fragments of himself. But the one who overcomes it, who rediscovers the will to power, who transcends the animal in search of the divine, this man is not only masculine, he is exceptional, he is dangerous, he is free. To escape the prison of lust, man must first understand that freedom does not rhyme with complacency. It means transcendence. In the New Zealand vision of Ubersh, the Superman, we find the archetype of the man who has risen above the baser instincts of the herd, the man who no longer dances to the rhythm of animal desire. Superman is not celibate out of fear or indulgent out of weakness. He is sovereign. He owns himself. He uses desire rather than being used by it. In the eyes of nature, lust is not something to be denied in the name of morality, as religious people claim. Rather, it is something to be transmuted, redirected towards something higher. The pure sexual energy that vibrates within a man is a sacred fuel. And yet, most waste it in the cesspool of compulsive gratification. But the superior man, forged in fire and solitude, understands that sex is not destiny, it is fuel. It is the thirst that can enslave him or propel him toward legacy. Discipline, creation, and power. There is something almost monastic about nature's respect for solitude. While the herd clings to others, women, lovers, distractions, the philosopher, the artist, the true warrior, takes refuge in the silence of his mind. Ainsi admired the man capable of being alone, who did not need the approval of the outside world to validate his worth. He believed that greatness was often born from the silent agony of solitude. And history bears this out. Consider history's greatest figures: Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, Isaac Newton, Beethoven. These men were driven not by lust but by vision. Many of them abstained completely or practiced a form of unconscious celibacy, not because they rejected women, but because their mission was too great to be diluted by constant desire. In solitude they found focus. In moderation they found clarity. And through this calm they shaped entire civilizations. Modern man avoids solitude for fear of what he might find there. But nature tells us that only in solitude can one find one's higher self and annihilate weaknesses. Sexual discipline isn't about repression. It's about self-control. In a world where everything is overexposed and easily consumed, body, fantasies, dopamine rushes, the man who controls his desire becomes magnetic. He stands out not for his quest for attention, but for his unique and mysterious radiance. Women sense it. Other men respect this, even if they don't understand it. When a man doesn't need sex, he becomes unpredictable. He stops being a porn star dominated by a queen. He becomes a king without a visible crown, someone who won't be seduced, emotionally manipulated or baited. Nature despises the herd mentality, the instinct to follow, to fit in, to be led. Today, most men follow their erections like sheep to the slaughter. They are told what to desire, who to pursue, and what it means to be a man. But the Nietzsche man, an exceptional sovereign, breaks with this paradigm. He does not obey lust. He channels it. He uses it to build, conquer, create. His detachment is not coldness. It is command. Perhaps one of the most radical changes nature would require of modern man would be to stop viewing women as rewards. They are neither a trophy of performance nor a prize of obedience. They are a mirror. They reflect who you are or who you pretend to be. The man who views them as a test, not a destiny, is the one who remains in control. For him, every seductive look, every challenge, every emotional turbulence is simply an opportunity to stay centered, to stay true to one's own truth. Masculinity by nature is not reactive but creative. It doesn't chase, it builds. It doesn't seduce. It elevates. And in doing so, the truly feminine woman will naturally follow. She is attracted to the man who does not need her, who does not surround her, who bears the weight of her destiny. When she realizes that he is guided not by his body, but by his mission, she becomes loyal not through force, but through admiration. In the end, nature offers not condemnation, but confrontation. This poses a brutal question to man. Who rules you? If the answer is lust, then you are not a man. You are a slave carrying the illusion of freedom. But if the answer is self, if the answer is discipline, direction, and destiny, then you have begun the great journey. To desire nothing is not to be empty. It's about being whole, full of meaning, clarity, and untapped power. Lust is loud. Transcendence is silent. Most men will die in the noise, chasing what they never needed. But the Nietzschean man, the one who claims his throne by mastering his lower nature, will die with fire in his eyes and a legacy behind his name. Because he didn't spend his life chasing women. He spent it becoming someone they would never forget. It's time to abandon theory. If the first part exposed the chains of desire and the second the path to transcendence, then the third must be the roadmap. Because it's not enough to know that you're a slave to desire. Knowledge without action is merely an ornament. Nature did not write to comfort men. She wrote to disturb them, to rouse them from their slumber, to awaken within them something fierce and divine. Her message to modern man would be simple but violent. Save yourself or perish. The world you live in will not free you. It will seduce you, distract you, and lull you to sleep. It will give you infinite pleasure and call you power. It will give you validation and call you love. But it will never give you the one thing you truly need, sovereignty. The kind you must make your own. And that doesn't begin with rebellion against the world, but with total mastery of your lower self. The first commandment to regaining your masculinity is discipline, not complacency. You must train yourself to delay gratification, not through denial, but by cultivating your strength. Your morning should no longer begin with your cell phone, a screen or a soft porn video disguised as social media. Your nights should no longer end with empty ejaculations, depriving you of energy for a moment of escape. Start monitoring your energy. Notice how your power increases by abstaining. Notice how your lucidity sharpens by disconnecting from the algorithm of desire. Replace pornography with purpose. Replace the pursuit of women with the pursuit of your potential. Modern man is broken not from a lack of resources, but because he filters his essence through everything and everyone that flatters his ego. Eliminate these leaks. Build spaces for your power, a gym, a magazine, a business, a craft, a daily ritual. In the absence of desire, greatness begins to emerge. Second, you must redefine your relationships with women, not by leaving them bitterly, but by interacting with them from a position of power, not need. Stop motivating yourself with women. Stop basing your self-worth on their approval. Let your mission be your inspiration. Let your future self, 10 years wiser, richer, stronger, be the man you want to impress. Not the girl on Instagram who wouldn't even notice you if you died. Nature wouldn't tell you to hate women. She would tell you to surpass them. Not in courage, but in focus. For she is not the enemy. She is the test. She will come to distract you, seduce you, challenge you, heal you. She will restore your discipline, your strength of character. She will reward the man who does not weaken in her presence, who does not dissolve in her warmth. Become that man, not by trying to control her, but by controlling yourself. Remember, women don't follow men who pursue them. They follow men who seek the horizon. Third, accept solitude as something sacred. At first, it will feel like death. Your ego will scream. Your solitude will whisper lies to you. The urge to seek out a woman, a screen, a drug, anything will be unbearable. But stay with yourself. Only in this emptiness will you find your true power. Nature revered solitude, not because it was antisocial, but because it knew that only silence allows the soul to express itself. Don't fear loneliness, fear dependence. Use your solitude to read ancient texts. Reflect, walk, suffer, plan, and build. This is where the inner citadel is forged brick by brick, habit by habit, discipline by discipline. You lose nothing. You transform. The herd moves in herds without purpose. The sovereign walks alone intentionally. Let solitude be your furnace. Your future version awaits you there. Finally, develop a spiritual framework for transmutation. Understand that sexual energy is not a curse. It is a divine force, but it must be channeled. Direct your arousal toward aggression in the gym, charm and precision in your speeches, strategy in business, and serenity in leadership. Sexual energy left unchecked makes you dependent, unpredictable and obsessive, but once mastered, it makes you magnetic. You approach environments differently. You speak with presence. You move with intention. You begin to radiate what others call an aura. But it's not magic. It's simply untapped energy that you no longer waste. Read thinkers like Napoleon Hill, who spoke of this transmutation. Read Jung, who taught the integration of the anima, the inner feminine, so as to no longer be controlled by it from the outside. Read Nietzsche not for quotes, but for confrontation. Let these men be your mentors, not for entertainment, but for evolution. And therein lies the ultimate truth. Society will not save you. A woman will not save you. A book or a YouTube video will not save you. You must save yourself. You must declare war on your mediocrity. You must refuse to die a slave to your impulses. The world is already populated by fragile men, hungry men, disguised fools who wear chains shaped like smiles. Don't be one of them. Be the one who left. Be the one who went dark and returned like fire. Be the one they couldn't control. Be the one they couldn't predict. And above all, be the one who transcends. Whoever conquers lust conquers himself. Whoever conquers himself conquers his world. This is the Nietzschean way. This is your way, follow it. So remember, we are indecent. Becoming an interceptor is the code they never wanted you to learn. A psychological map of war for men. Forbidden teachings combined with modern strategies of influence, domination and self-control. If you want peace, prepare for war. If this post resonated with you and prompted some thought, please feel free to leave a comment. Write the following sentence. I choose to control myself. This simple declaration will be the first public step on your journey to self-mastery and transcendence. Share this quote, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join other men who are deciding to break the chains of lust and take the throne of their lives once and for all.